We are the director of our own life. Our life is a movie and it plays out how exactly you want it to play out. That actually became a big game changer for me in my life when I actually looked at the people around me and I thought, how are these guys even adding value or contributing value to my life?
Was it like nerve-wracking that first ever time you were like, I need to go approach that hot girl at the bar? After learning all these skills in theory, so you had never tried it, was it difficult?
It was really profound energy that I discovered in myself. Like, there's a whole new world that's waiting for me and I want to explore this.
Andrew Gung grew up around domestic violence, and for years he kept it all in. Today, he's a men's confidence coach, a speaker, and the voice behind Core Confidence, a movement helping men break generational pain and show up with power. This episode isn't just about his story. It's a call for every man ready to heal, lead, and rise.
I think that's been an age-old thing, to be honest. It's not really just a modern thing. But what's your take on that? Like, do you think it's easier for guys that have money to then go on to then date properly? Or do you think that guys who don't have money, can also date successfully?
That is true. And in society and on social media, we see that a lot. But it's not.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Point 01. Today we have our special guest, Andrew Gung, on. Let's get going. So, Andrew, I want to chat to you today about a few things with your life and your business. You have a very interesting business. You've been viral a few times across Australian media, but you are essentially, the man's love coach, right? And you're very, very good at it. But for those who don't know you, Andrew, who are you? Do you want to give us a brief description? Who are you?
Yeah, who am I? Australian-born Chinese,
Yep.
41 years of age. Been living in Melbourne most of my life.
Yep.
And I guess I just full-time, 7 days a week, run my own company as a dating coach for men.
Yeah. Wow. When did you start being a dating coach? Because I think I actually noticed in the media, there's been a lot more dating coaches nowadays. I think since the coaching industry kind of really blew up about, 6-7 years ago, there's a lot of dating coaches now. When did you get started?
Officially, I would say I got started late 2017, but I've been probably coaching for the last 14 odd years.
Wow.
Yeah, even while doing other stuff, I was just doing it on the side out of personal interest and just, it's a fun thing.
Yeah, gotcha. So what got you into kind of dating coaching, right? You could have coached anything, psychology, high performance, whatever, but you became a dating coach.
Dude, trying to keep a long story short. All right. I guess going through high school, I always had a fascination of human behavior and psychology, but I actually did not even study psychology. So a lot of people think, oh, do you have a psychology certificate and all of that? No. I always had a personal fascination for how people interact, how relationships work. And where it all started was from the age of 18 to about 23, I struggled massively with women. I had relationships, but they all ended probably 4 to 6 months down the track. And they all ended in the same mannerism where another guy would be in the scene, in the background, and then my girlfriend would leave me for another guy. And for that to happen 3 times in a row, you got to think to yourself, well, is this how relationships are, or is there something going on internally with myself? So that was kind of like the catalyst to make me start diving into this rabbit hole of, okay, what am I doing wrong? Or is relationships like a dog-eat-dog world? So that's kind of where.
So what are those relationships like now with your kind of insight in terms of dating, in terms of your experience now, going back to 18-year-old Andrew, and going through those relationships, what was that actually like for you? What do you think the actual problem was?
Okay. I feel growing up from an Asian background. Now, my parents are very westernized, even though they look full Asian, right? They did come with a very traditional mindset. And so I was brought up with a mindset of thinking that relationships work, like women are attracted to men for the sake of them being good looking. They've got good money coming in and they've got a nice job. That was my mindset. And so I had zero understanding of how women are attracted to men. Zero understanding. So I thought, okay, I'll make myself look good. And I dressed myself into a very gangster-looking Asian guy back in the day.
Do you have a photo of that? Because I want to put it on the video.
Yeah, I probably do.
Yeah,
I
send
probably
it to
do.
me.
I had
Send it
blonde
to me.
spikes, blonde fringe, and
No,
all of that stuff.
no way.
So yeah, that was that was me back when I was 18, and and so girls kind of got drawn to that, but I had a very poor personality. I had zero ambitions in life, zero leadership skills. I had no confidence. I had to get my friends to go up to girls for me, stuff like that, and I had no idea how to even talk to women. So couldn't even maintain eye contact with them. Like, that's how bad I was. So I was like a very nerdy, very introvert Asian guy. And so the big thing that I learned from all those mistakes, you know, from 18 to 23, is that when I got into the relationship, I had no ability to even make decisions. So they would continually ask me, "Hey, what do you feel like doing? What do you want to do this week? What do you want to do for our, you know, for this Friday night?"
Up to you, babe. Whatever you want.
Yeah. Hey, what do you feel like eating? What do you want to do? And I would always do that. And then year after year, you know, they would just get into a relationship with me, leave, and choose another guy. And I thought, what's going on? But then obviously doing a lot of self-development, I found out now I understand what I was doing wrong. I was putting my girlfriends into a masculine role, and they got turned off by that. It's like happening kind of on a unconscious level that I'm making them feel like they're dating another girl. That's basically what I was doing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. There's a lot of conversation around masculinity and, you know, femininity. I think you know, girls in their masculine, males in their feminine is becoming quite trendy nowadays. I think we see it all over social media. I don't know whether it's just Gen Zs or whether it's just because of social media, whatever it is, but I feel like a lot of guys are more feminine nowadays and a lot of girls are more masculine. They've, you know, the girls have stepped up to play ball, but the guys have kind of stepped back, you know, to just, you know, just float with the wind. So it's been very, very interesting to see that. Relationships is a hot topic. It always is. I mean, you know it yourself. You've been viral a few times for things that you've said and done, and, you know, you've ended up on TV and media because of that. So when it came down to 24-year-old Andrew, right, like, and now you're kind of progressing, what was the switch for you? Like, what made you go from, hey, you know, I could get a girlfriend, but I couldn't hold her down because I made her the masculine one in the relationship. You know, I lost that status as the leader, the alpha of the relationship. And now my girlfriend at the time is more attracted to other men because they made her feel maybe safer, made her more comfortable, maybe made her feel like, you know, she could go back into her feminine energy. So what switched at 24 for you then to go on, you know, and have that catalyst happen for you to then go down that sort of dating coach pathway / exploring your own, you know, kind of exploration of, you know, your own like sexuality, your own kind of like your own ambitions, leadership, masculinity, all of that sort of stuff. Yep. What happened at 24?
Yeah, good question. So 23 to 24, I fell into a downward negative spiral.
Right.
Where depression was really dark.
And was that because of a relationship?
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember the third relationship that I had, that really put me in a dark space.
That rocked you.
Yeah, dude. So, and you know, it was the first relationship. Yeah, I fell into a depression for 6 months. And that was the first time of experiencing that. And I didn't know what to do and I didn't know who to talk to. But I pushed myself out of that. I feel like I carried on trauma from that. But then when it happened when I was 23, I was like, not this again. Why is this happening? So I was in a very dark place. I remember I was lying in my, I moved into my brother's room. So my brother moved out at the time with his girlfriend. And so I moved into my brother's room because my bedroom just gave me like a depressive feel because I was like, no, it's
your
got memories.
bedroom gave you trauma. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, man. So I was like, you know, living in my brother's room, and I remember I was lying down one day and I wasn't working. I was on Centrelink because I was so depressed. I just had no motivation to even work. I stopped gymming, so I lost all my gains.
Yeah.
Everything, dude.
So
like
did
my
you become
appetite.
fat?
No, I became skinny.
Oh, you became skinny.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I
okay.
lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just lying in bed and I was just feeling depressed. My mum's like, what are you doing with your life? And I just go, no, I'm just not in the mood to do anything. And that was happening for like 4 to 6 months. I remember I was messaging this one mate of mine and he goes, dude, stop being a little bitch. Like, you need to move on in life.
Yeah.
And he goes, have you read that ebook I sent you? And I said, what ebook? And he goes, I sent you an ebook 6 months ago. And I said, no. And he goes, stop being a bitch, read that book. It's going to help you. It's about dating. And I remember I was like, okay, so I looked at that ebook and it was by this author called David D'Angelo. So he was back in the time, one of those well-known dating coaches. And so the book was called Attraction Isn't a Choice. And I looked at the index of the book and man, I was like, why did I not read this years ago? There was one topic that said, attraction traits, unattractive traits. I was like, what the fuck is a trait? And I flicked through to it and it listed them all out. And it said leadership skills, assertiveness, being decisive, having goals in life. And I was like, what the fuck? This is literally a cheat sheet on how a man should be a man. I was like, how come I didn't know this stuff? And then it said unattraction traits, being needy, not making decisions. What was it? Being jealous. I was like, fuck, I'm a really jealous guy. And it just listed out all of these things that I was like, crap, it's as if this person wrote this book about me. And that just shifted my mindset thinking, holy crap, I've been sitting in bed, feeling sorry for myself, thinking that the world sucks, women suck, relationships are toxic, they're dog eat dog. So if you see another guy in a relationship, you need to steal her, because that's basically what happened to me. So I had this mindset, and that mindset still kind of dwindled on for like at least a year until I really got rid of that negative mindset. But that book shifted the way that I thought. And then I just devoured that book, made like a cheat sheet, like literally studied this stuff.
Wow.
And then it kind of went from there.
So what was the next steps for you then? Like you came out of the rut, you would have been around 25 at the time. 25-year-old Andrew. What were you doing after that? Were you studying, working? What happened after that whole process?
Yeah, so I finally got my first full-time professional job as a 3D game animator.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I was a bit of a nerd back then.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing that for about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And in that time, I was studying this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was downloading online courses, like buying them,
Yeah.
learning from this coach, that coach, and reading books about all of this stuff. But I was doing it as if I was studying for an exam.
Gotcha.
So I had a book and I was just like writing cheat sheet notes. So I would learn this stuff and ingrain it into my head while I was like working as a 9-to-5 3D game artist.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So what happened then, right? You've learned all these skills. How did you actually then go and implement it? Were you good at picking up girls in that time? Did you actually meet anyone? Because being a 3D animator, like you're probably at home most of the time.
Dude.
Or you're in the office most of the time. Did you ever meet any girls?
My best friend was a computer screen. It was really sad.
So you met a lot of computer girls.
No, so look, in all honesty, from after learning this stuff, I said to myself, no more relationships. I want to develop these skills of myself because I can't fake being a leader. I can't fake ambition.
Agreed.
But I thought, how do I get to this level of me and women will find me attractive? Because I don't want to be this needy guy that's always chasing women all the time. Like I just found that repulsive. But I thought, surely there's a version of me where women are attracted to, and I'm not that guy that's consistently texting them 3-4 times a day. So what really happened was when I was writing all these notes down and doing this, going on this self-development journey, I remember it's somewhere in my parents' house. I remember I wrote down like a 12-15 page cheat sheet booklet. I can't remember what I called it, but it was just like Andrew's notes of dating.
Yeah.
And I wrote everything down in that book. And then I hand-picked about 4 or 5 friends and I said, hey, come over to my parents' place. I've printed out a little booklet for you and I'm going to teach you everything that I know. And I remember that was like the first taste of this. And I had a few friends in around my parents' lounge room and I had a booklet, I handed it out. I said, okay, turn to page 1.
Yeah.
And I just read out, I said, okay, women are attracted to men because of X, Y, Z. And if you see a woman at a bar and she's with a friend, this is what you do. This is how you enter the space. And all of these little things that I was learning at the time. And so I was like, this is actually really fun. And so I would take my friends out to bars and I said, hey, who do you like?
Yeah.
And I felt really cool like that, like an older brother to all my Asian friends.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. And that was kind of like where the journey began. Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot, right? They always have this discussion online. It's always like Asian girls are the most desirable, but Asian men are the least desirable.
Oh yeah, dude.
So yeah, I mean, I want to dive into that as well because we're both Asian men here. So obviously we're super undesirable, right? Based on that. But it's really funny because, you know, you're talking about all of that, developing the skill set. And I think it is. Whether it's picking up girls or it's picking up guys from the other end,
Yep.
it's ultimately a skill set of communication and being a
100%.
great communicator.
Yep.
I think that's really, really powerful stuff. So when you did all of that and you learned all about these skills and from a dating perspective,
Yep.
what happened? Did you guys go out and pick up girls? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so from the age of 20, probably 24 to 25, upwards of around my early 30s,
Yeah.
I just became a huge, well, probably late 20s,
Yeah.
I became a huge playboy,
Yeah, nice.
right? And I was just like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
So I did, unfortunately, make a big reputation for myself in,
Did you?
in the Asian community,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah.
So people knew me
Nice.
of being a certain person.
Gotcha.
And back then, yeah, look, I'm not going to, I'll just throw it out on the table. So
Yeah.
I made a name for myself.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Usher.
Okay.
So people called me Andrew Usher.
Andrew Usher.
And that was the name that I made for myself in the Asian clubbing scene. They go,
Yeah.
be careful of that Andrew Usher guy. Yeah, he's a fucking playboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I honestly didn't care.
Yeah.
I stepped on people's toes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, probably ruined a few relationships.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I just went through this real fuckboy phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you're aware of it. You know, I think a lot of people, aren't aware of it, or they're aware, but also, they can't accept it or, appreciate that journey that they've been on. So it's good that you have that awareness. And I think that's quite unique in its own sense. Yeah. But tell me about that, right? 25 to 29/30. So five good years of picking up. I think a lot of people would be interested not because of picking up, right? And, to each their own. Everyone's got their own relationship preferences, whether you want to be monogamous, polygamous, whether you want to, have just normal relationships, casuals, long-term, whatever. Everyone's got to each their own. Everyone's got their own flavor. Don't really care. But in your sense, when you went out and you picked up girls, and I think, a lot of people are obviously carry a lot of judgment, If you're a guy that picks up a lot of the whole saying, if you're a lock that picks or if you're a key that picks all locks, whatever, you're a master key, right? Have you heard that saying?
Yeah.
And it's all of that, right? So you going out and picking up girls. How many girls do you reckon? You probably won't know the exact number, but how many girls do you reckon you picked up and slept with in those 5 years?
Fucking. I remember the first year when I learned all of this stuff, and I just...
Was it hard, actually? Was it like nerve-wracking that first ever time you were like, I need to go approach that hot girl at the bar? After learning all these skills in theory, so you had never tried it, was it difficult?
I would say I had a lot more excitement to explore this stuff.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
the anxiety wasn't really an issue back then.
Oh.
Yeah, I think, look, when you go through that age of, say, 24 to about 29... there is a time period, or usually around, I feel, early 20s to about 25, 26. You go through a phase of just not giving a shit. And so I had that mindset. And so I just had absolute confidence to explore this because I was excited. It was really profound energy that I discovered in myself. Like, there's a whole new world that's waiting for me, and I want to explore this. And so I went out Thursday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights. Like, I went out every single week for 3 nights straight, applying new things, trying new things out. And I was like, wow, introvert Andrew to this now outgoing Andrew that's kind of dressing different, speaking differently, and actually seeing results come through the doors, like literally within.
Yeah. So how did that go? First night you went out, picked up or no? Do you remember?
I can't remember the first.
This would have been
night.
years
Dude, I
ago
can't
for you.
remember.
Yeah.
That's going back a long time ago. I honestly wouldn't be able to say I can't remember. It's a blur those years, but I remember the first year, and Yeah, I remember the first year I did make a list of the,
You did make a list,
yeah,
so you had the
fuck.
list. So
I
girls,
made a
watch out,
list
all
of
right?
girls that I hooked up with, and it was about
Yeah.
26, 27.
Okay, okay.
And then I got to about the high 30s the next year.
Yeah. So that's 26 the first year, then 30s the next year. So you're growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Progressing. You got some
Dude.
20% year on year growth going on.
Yeah, and then it pretty much doubled after that.
Wow.
But then I thought I came to a realization, like it was becoming an unhealthy mindset.
Yeah, gotcha.
I was like, look, I know people are making it about like a body count, like
Yeah.
how many girls have I slept with?
Yeah.
And I realized my mindset was going in a fucked up direction. So I was like, stop, I got to stop counting. This is actually becoming a real bad habit.
What do you think that mindset was? Because I think a lot of people would love to know. What's that mindset that you kind of got into? Because obviously your confidence would have been growing and growing and growing every time this happened. As you're building that list, and same thing from men that are alphas, leaders, they're very competitive people.
Yep.
So I'm assuming, it would have become more gamified in your head, where it's kind of like a game for you now. Can I pick up more than I did last year? Can I do this? Can I do what?
Yeah.
What was that mindset like for you in your player phase? What was that like?
I would say it's very close to an addiction. Yeah,
Right.
man. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I wouldn't say I've had a gambling addiction, but
Yeah.
I've had addictions to other things in the past. And I
Yeah.
know what it feels like. You have that FOMO feeling.
Is this like a sex addiction, or is it more like an addiction to the chase? What sort of addiction would you describe it as?
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sex addiction.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, I remember I had FOMO.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized it was unhealthy, because if I was at home on a Friday night, I'd feel depressed, thinking, fuck, like everyone's out, everyone's having fun, I'm missing out. Who am I not meeting tonight? So I would force myself to go out on a Friday night. So I went from comfortable Andrew hanging at home, doing nothing, playing video games and all of that, to then fire out, I need to be out. Who's out? I need to go out. And it was very unhealthy, but I didn't know how to break that pattern, right? So I went through a very unhealthy phase of my life. But you know what? It came down to me to pull myself out of it.
100%.
But I don't regret those years, because I learned so much, man. I learned so much about myself. Yeah, I did lose a lot of friendships. I built a bad reputation for myself, but it's what made me who I am today.
And I think so. I think as humans, we go through an experience in life, or we go through multiple experiences in life where we kind of, learn about ourselves, and not every decision we make is going to be the best or the most correct decision, right? And, not every action we take is going to create the best outcome or future for us as well. I think what you went through was, well, one, very powerful for yourself. You developed the confidence to be who you are today.
Yep.
But also at the same time, obviously, there's some negative implications to that. But, it is what it is. Some people can accept you, some people won't. Some people will judge you, some people don't. And that's just life. During those years, as it became a really unhealthy habit for you, I mean, I think I always want to dive into these questions, right? Because a lot of people might be curious, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would love to be in your position, because maybe they don't have a lot of luck with girls, or they don't have that opportunity to pick up a lot of girls, or sleep with a lot of girls. And I'm just being very open about this on this episode, because obviously I have my own beliefs as well. I have, everyone's got their own beliefs. But in your situation, when you're out there picking up girls, and it's almost at a stage where you're like one different girl every week, if not even more, right?
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Were all these girls kind of just blending into the same thing? Were you chasing a certain type of girl? What were you looking for when you went to the club, or when you went out? Were you just picking up anyone and everyone, or was it kind of like,
No, I was going for the
types?
most popular ones.
Right.
I challenged myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going for like the hot ones, the ones that all the guys kind of saw that stood out, and they were going for it. And I saw it as like a challenge that I was like, fuck, I've got to. Yeah, I remember this. I went for like, back in the day, we had these things called go-go dances.
Okay.
In this Asian club.
Yeah.
We had this, club in Chapel Street that was Chasers.
Yeah.
That was like the famous Friday night Asian club.
Yeah.
Now it's called,
now it's Scarlet, right?
yeah, now it's Scarlet.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
been to Scarlet in years.
Yeah.
But Chasers Asian nightclub was the fucking place to be on a Friday. And oh my gosh. So we had at some point some go-go dancers, like this group of Asian girls that would wear like, these really skimpy outfits, and they would dance on the podiums.
Yeah.
And there was this, I remember there were these few girls that everyone had their eyes on, and they were all going from them. And I was like, let's see if I can get them.
Okay.
That was my mindset, man.
Yeah.
And so I did get them.
Okay.
But then it just became this vicious cycle of like, what else can I get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to keep stepping up. Keep stepping up every single time. Different levels to it. Different levels.
You bring back some really hardcore memories, actually.
Some cool memories. Yeah. That's so interesting. And did your friends do that as well? Because I remember you said you were teaching your friends. Did your friends ever go out and pick up as well? Or?
They did. They did. Some, yeah, they did. I would say they definitely did. And I would just kind of look out for the next guy that needed help.
Yeah.
And I just felt really excited. Like I saw guys that were struggling. I was like, hey, bro, what's going on? Yeah, and I kept doing this.
Yeah.
Every time I went out, I saw a guy struggling. I was like, I need to help this guy. And I just did it without the mindset of thinking that coaching is a thing or I wanted to be a coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You were just helping the boys.
Yeah.
You're one of the boys.
Yeah.
So what was it like then, picking up girls? Give some guys some game now, right? So, for those listening at home who maybe struggle to pick up girls or maybe struggle to not even just pick up, maybe even just to initiate conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's some game that you would kind of share with the entry-level guy who, maybe mid-20s, hasn't had much, luck in terms of a relationship, probably not very good at meeting people offline.
Yep.
I think online is a different game. Do you ever teach skills like in the online side of things, like Tinder dating or
Online, I don't think really existed back then, man.
Yeah. What about now? Do you help people with the online communication?
Yeah, we do. We do. People say online's died. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I disagree to that.
Okay.
It's still quite relevant.
Yeah, right.
But if I had a choice and a client came to me and said, hey, I need help with dating,
Yeah.
I'd usually steer them to meeting women organically, not relying on the online dating apps. However, we can help them though. So we can still help them blow up the online dating apps and whatnot. But my personal preference would be you need to work on yourself. Even if we got you, say, matching with an abundance of women and you can get out on like 3 to 4 new dates a week, at the end of the day, it builds their confidence. They're going to get the results, but they're still going to be their old self. Like you can't look past a guy getting the results, but he's got really bad social skills.
Yeah, well, you can't be a player if you don't have game, right? So you gotta learn the game side of things, and to build the game side of things, it's all down to you.
Yeah,
it all comes down to your self-confidence and all of that. So
absolutely.
Give us some free game, bro. So what's the free game for the guys that are listening at home? How do you pick up the hottest girl in the club? And I know that, and this is something I want to actually ask you as well. For a lot of these girls that are deemed the hottest, the prettiest girls, the most popular girls, what's been said online is that a lot of these girls are usually untouched. Like there's not many guys actually chasing them because they feel like these girls are already out of their league. And a lot of these girls are actually, people think that their DMs are filled. People think that there's always guys chasing them. But the reality is for a lot of these, top tier S grade girls, they don't actually have that many suitors. Well, has that been the same in terms of your experience? Like the sort of girls that everyone desires, do you feel like there's actually less competition for them?
It depends, man. It depends. So
obviously a club girl versus like maybe, I don't know, like a top notch, whatever girl, different.
Yeah. So I want to dive into that.
Yeah.
If you go into a club and you see like the hottest girl, look, if her body language kind of gives off like I'm like this princess kind of thing.
Yeah.
Look, man, I wouldn't even waste my time. Like I wouldn't want to waste my time there because a lot of the times, sadly, times have changed.
Yep.
But nowadays with social media and all of this stuff that's kind of gone through the roof and just changed how society is, a lot of these women, I wouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them do go out purely for the validation factor. That's what they feed off of. And sadly, you see a lot of these hotties that on online dating apps, they're purely just there for validation, but they're not there to actually meet anyone or even to go out on a date. And so you get a lot of these, they go out like, and you can tell. But look, not saying that it's always going to be the case, because you have to be confident enough to push through that bullshit filter.
Yep.
And a lot of them do go out to the bars and clubs with that bitch shoot up, right? Because then they know that a lot of guys are going to approach them. So you need to know how to punch through that rather than just being that ordinary guy that's just saying these one-liners and stuff. And hey, can I buy you a drink? And what are your girls buying?
The classic.
Yeah, all
The
of
classic,
that lame
yeah.
stuff. So, look, I feel like a lot of those girls are hard work. I wouldn't necessarily waste my time doing that now. But, some guys are into that, so that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't consider those typical girls, that have like a huge amount of makeup on, lip fillers and all of that. Dude, I wouldn't even bother going there nowadays. So look, club girls, they are what they are. They're club girls. But it's changed, man. Like, honestly, back in the day when I used to club, you wouldn't really get that. It would be different. You could potentially meet some really genuine, authentic women in the clubs. Nowadays, it's a bit different. However, and this is why a lot of guys reach out to me, because they're like, look, I see really great opportunity during the daytime, but I have no idea or no balls to even say hi to a girl.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, even in a library or even, yesterday I took some clients to the museum.
Wow.
I think it was the museum,
Okay.
in Sydney. And they had amazing conversations with beautiful women, but you won't find that typical Friday night club girl in a museum or library.
100%. It's a different type of girl.
It's a different type of woman.
Yeah.
And they're really beautiful, right? They're gorgeous, and they're not going to go in with like this attitude. They're going to be very humble. They're going to have a great personality to vibe with. And those guys like, hey, I want to meet those women. And will you find them out on a Friday night? Most likely not. Yeah.
Interesting. So what would you do then? Like, what's the approach, right? I mean, it's always going to come down
what's the
to,
approach?
okay, you can identify, what type of woman you might be interested in or you feel attracted to. But what's the approach? What can someone do who is trying to break out of that shell? Whether they're trying to pick up for a girlfriend or whether they're trying to pick up, just for a classic shag. But, what would it be like to go and determine, hey, what type of person this is? How do I approach and how do I make my approach?
Yeah. Okay, so let's put a situation out there. If we're out at a bar, okay?
Yep.
I would say to the guy, look, okay, typically this is what I would say to a client. On a night out, we actually have zero alcohol. So there's no alcohol involved to influence their confidence levels because most guys are relying on liquid courage. So I say, hey, there's a golden rule, no alcohol. Like strictly no alcohol unless, you connect and vibe with some girls and they're like, hey, come join us for some drinks. It's weird if you're like, oh, no, I'm only drinking water tonight. Yeah. Right? It's a bit weird. And then your mate's only drinking water. So what we typically do, and it's good training because we're developing their confidence. I get them to go to a bar, like go to the bar in the club or whatever it might be. And then I get them to just order, say, a lemon lime bitters or a small glass of Coke.
Yeah.
Not a tall glass, a small glass. So at least they can hold it like it's a...
like a mixer or something.
Yeah, or like a whiskey and Coke.
Yeah.
And so I can kind of blend in because we need to blend in. We can't just be a bunch of guys
Yeah.
dressed
Oh, yeah,
well.
let's go get some water.
Yeah, and we've got fucking waters and stuff. It's just lame. But we need to blend in. And being in a bar on a Friday night, you need to at least have like a drink in your hand. And we just use it as a prop.
Yeah.
Right? It's really just a prop. And so when they're at the bar, I say, hey, before you order the drink, you need to earn that drink. And so what I mean by that is choose a bar that has a busy line that has a mix of guys and girls. And it doesn't matter if there's just girls and guys or a whole bunch of girls. Just make small talk, small conversation to warm up. So starting off with something as simple as like, hey guys, what are we celebrating tonight? Okay, something simple. I keep it very, very simple just to warm up because a lot of the times these guys get in their head and then they start building, approach anxiety essentially. And they're procrastinating. They're like, oh, she's looking at me. She's got a boyfriend and all of this stuff. They start overthinking. So whether they've got a boyfriend or not, we're not asking them to like exactly hit on them. We're just saying, hey, make small talk. Just talk to the person on your left. Talk to the person on your right. It's about having social skills and just getting the energy levels up. That's number one, okay? So it's not about, hey, go up to her and say this and that, okay? Just getting the confidence levels up, getting them to feel comfortable that everyone's a friend in the room. So that's the first step. And then the second step, when they order the drink, then just use their prop and just cheers people left, right, and center. and then just enter a group of people, whether it's a mix of guys and girls, and just go, hey, you got, compliment maybe the guy and say, hey man, you've got a really nice outfit or style, right? And just do that. So that's how we start off the night. Okay. And then from there, then I get the guys kind of screening the room. Okay. Who do you see that stands out to you? And what do you think the situation is? Do you think she's single? Do you think she's married? Do you think she's got a boyfriend here? And why do you think that is? So obviously I'm not going to get guys to hit on other guys' girlfriends. I'm going to get them to, approach a group of girls. And then if they're at the bar or in more of the social area of the bar, I would usually start there because it's a bit more simpler.
Yeah.
I don't really push my guys to go out and do dance floor game. That's a little bit later because it doesn't really involve much skill. It's just, it's like non-verbals. It's just dancing and then grabbing the girl's hand, doing the twirl and all this stuff. But yeah, just going up to, say, usually on the side of the bar, and I'm thinking of a bar in particular in Sydney, there's a bunch of girls just sitting down or just chatting in the back area. And I would say, hey, just go up there and just start some small talk, but don't say boring stuff like, oh, hey girls, you having a good night tonight, or how's your night? That's very, very boring. Just go in with something expressive with good energy and maintaining good eye contact. That's really the foundation. So good energy, maintaining good eye contact, going in with confidence, even going up, to a close distance and saying something assumptive like, you girls look like trouble, like something basic.
Something
like that.
cheeky.
Yeah, something cheeky. It's always got to be tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Right? There's no like scripted lines. It's just getting in there and then just going with the flow after that.
Gotcha.
That's usually how we get them entering in a night type of environment.
Off the back of that, right? How do you stop a guy from coming off as creepy? Because that's a big one, right? Girls hate that. Girls say, oh my God, that guy's such a creep. And that's where probably a lot of the performance anxiety comes from and the social anxiety comes from for a lot of the guys who are trying to go out there and pick up girls, right? So how do you stop a guy from coming across as a creep or like a weirdo when they need to approach a group of girls or they need to approach girls? Because it's quite intimidating for a lot of guys.
Let's define what makes a guy creepy. So what makes a guy creepy is just uncalibrated social skills and bad body language, where he doesn't pick up on the social cues, where if the woman is not interested, he will just kind of linger and loiter
keep pushing in, keep trying to,
and he doesn't pick up on these. And that's not his fault because I've gone through my creepy phase and I had to learn from my mistakes because I didn't know what was the boundaries and what was too much and what was not enough. So you got to find that threshold, that little point. And a lot of guys don't get this. So they just think, oh, I've just got to keep pursuing. Yes, to an extent, but you got to pick up on the social cues. Like women expect guys to actually be mind readers, sadly. Yeah, and a lot of guys aren't fucking mind readers. So a creepy guy, let's explain that for a second. So he would be the guy that's just, maybe he's standing right behind the girl and the girl's got her back to him, but he's just standing there with his glass and he's like, he thinks he's a part of the group. And then the girls are like, they've got their back to him and like, oh, is he still there? Kind of thing. And he's like, hey, and he's still probably talking to them.
Yeah. How's your day? Hey.
Yeah. And it's just
how you going?
Okay. So that's one example. And another example is a guy that would just maybe stand to the side. And you see this all the time. Like you go into a bar and you see a whole bunch of guys, they're just standing there with their glasses clenched to their chest and then like just looking at all the girls like, but they're doing nothing.
Yeah.
But for them to do nothing, it also makes them look creepy.
That's true.
So by you doing something actually makes you less creepy. So you got to just kind of pick up on the social cues. Yeah, if she goes, hey guys, can you just fuck off? Okay, cool.
Fair
all
enough.
right, awesome. Enjoy your night.
Yeah.
And don't just cop it on the chin. That's fine. Yeah. But don't be like, fuck off. Haha, cool. So where are you guys from? I've seen this happen before.
No.
Like, not with my clients, but like I see this all the time because I'm out every Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
And I see these guys. It's like, oh, hey, haha, cool. And they're like, hey, can you just leave us alone? We're just having a girls' night out.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not having a girls' night out because they came to a club that's got guys and girls.
Yeah.
They're just saying that to get the guy away, but he doesn't pick up on how he could have done that better, or he doesn't read the room. And he's just like, oh, having a girls' night out, cool. Haha. What type of girls' night out? And so that kind of defines the guy that's just being a bit too pushy. So that's essentially making the guy, you know, quote unquote creepy.
Desperate, creepy, needy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There you go. I mean, that was part of your book, right? I mean, being needy is what is it? It's a turn-off trait. So
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
that's so interesting. That's fascinating. It's because a lot of guys out there, I think, don't have a lot of great social skills. I think dating is like a sales game, essentially. You know, if you're a good salesperson, you have charisma. You can read the room. You know when someone's like, "Hey, I'm not interested," whether it's a not interested right now or just a not interested in general. A lot of people don't get that and don't understand that. What's your take on guys who kind of are desperate for girls' attentions? You know, they really want to feel validated by a girl, whether that's because they have mummy issues or something like that. But there are a lot of guys out there who do things for the sake of girls, right? They're desperate. They need that validation. They need a girlfriend. They always want to have a girlfriend. I'm sure you would have met a lot of these guys. What's your take on that? Like, how can they improve, or like, you know, why do you feel like they don't actually get girls, no matter how desperate they feel like or desperate they are?
Yeah, so we do get a handful of these type of guys per year.
Yeah.
And the biggest shift they need to make is their mental shift. Because they feel like I need a girlfriend. Like, obviously I understand because they haven't had success at all or in a very long time. Okay, and so they're feeling very needy. They're feeling very desperate. And the thought of even kissing a girl is like this fantasy in their head. So they've got a lot of anxiety, but their mindset shouldn't be like, I need a girl. Okay, so I say to them, hey, I understand you're coming to me because you want to find a potential lover and someone that's going to be a fulfilling life partner for you. I get that. But let's now take that thought process and get it out of the front of our mind and put it in the back of our mind. Because if you're going into social interactions and your day-to-day life with the mindset of like, I'm trying to find a girlfriend, I need someone, that's actually going to make you very unhealthy, make you very desperate. Your body language, your social skills are going to be very needy, and just people are going to pick up on that. Okay. And so we need to shift that mindset, put it at the back of your mind, and just be out there saying, hey, I'm just out here to meet women to see who I get along with or who I don't. So it's a shift of mindset, first of all. Some people, they're a bit hard to crack. And I do remember this one client we had in our very first year. He was very much like this. And he, sadly with that, he came with a little bit of uncoachability and arrogance, but we had to work on these issues, right? So we had to really dig deep. And so, yeah, it was very unfortunate. I remember he did well, but his mindset was like, we suggested to him as a part of our course program. I said, hey, don't just focus on women. What else are you doing outside of your work? And he goes, oh, I'm just going out to meet women. I said, no, okay. You need to build a life. You need to have substance. You need to be a man of substance. If we are to help you on this journey and eventually meet women and you're going to get into a relationship, I can guarantee you right now, speaking from experience, she's going to leave your ass, right? Because you've got nothing going on for you. You have no friends. You've got no social life at all. So you need to build the foundation first in order to attract women. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. So what do you recommend? I said, well, firstly, you need to get into shape and hit the gym. And he goes, okay, so if I go to the gym, I'm going to get girls. I said, no, that's not the right mindset. You're not listening to me. Going to the gym just so you can get girls, that's
also stupid. But
yeah. But I understand because guys do hit the gym and it builds that motivation and they feel better to then have the confidence to go up to girls, yes. But it's not like, okay, gym equals girls. No, get rid of that mindset. So he was like, he had this really poor man's mindset. Okay, so if I dress better, will that get me a girlfriend? No. So we had to really dig deep and help him unlearn a lot of things. And that took a long time, right? So unfortunately, there's a lot of guys out there that have this mindset. Yeah.
Gotcha. What about now, if we look at it, there's also a lot of talk about, different types of categorizations for people, right?
Yep.
You've got your alpha males, beta males, sigmas, all of that sort of stuff, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, kids nowadays, they use the word sigma. I think it's for the wrong definition, but yes, there's a lot of sigmas, which is not true. But in terms of what you've seen with success, obviously alpha males dominate, especially in the dating scene. But how do you help, for example, beta males? I know a lot of males, and it's not offensive, I don't think. And I want people to tune out of that mindset, whether you're an alpha, a beta, you know, an omega, delta, a sigma, whatever it is, right? And if you guys don't know what these are, go for a quick Google and you'll find it. You know, I think that's very important as well, is to find information and answers yourself too. But don't take offense to whatever type of person you are. Just because you're a beta male doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It's just a type of trait sort of profile that you might have. So alpha males have a certain, you know, list of traits that potentially help them be more successful in a lot of different things. But there's a lot of beta males out there who want to pretend that they're alpha males or want to act like an alpha male. How do you help these types of people find success? Because, you know, obviously beta males are a little bit more submissive.
Yes.
They're a little bit more passive, a little bit more quiet. But how do you help these guys find success when they're pretending? No one likes a pretender. And and a girl can smell that from a mile away as well. A girl can smell whether you're trying to fake being someone, you know, you're putting on an act, you're acting richer than you are, all that sort of stuff. A very, you know, a good girl with a lot of social experience will sniff that out like 100%. Instantly. How do you help guys get out of that mindset where they feel like they need to fake being someone to be someone?
By the way, I'll point out one thing. As society grows, all these fucking terms just keep...
Oh, bro, there's more and more every time.
I'm so behind now. Back in the day, for me, it was just alpha male and beta male.
That's it.
And then when I went on the fucking TV show with SBS...
They talk about sigmas.
Sigmas is the first term that I've heard of that today, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm just so behind on all this stuff because it's just been... All this stuff's just being thrown out. But the term, they were like talking about incels. I was like,
incels.
I was like, please don't ask me about incels. I don't even know what the fuck that is right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what they're saying. But like, they're just coming up with all these new terms and stuff. And I'm like,
yes, correct.
Okay. How do I deal with a guy that's beta? Well, firstly, so just to put it out there, so I wouldn't say, you know, I actually did start off as a beta male. Yeah. Absolutely. I was a complete simp.
Yeah.
And I went through the phase of, you know, faking it till I made it. So I understand, like, you know, I wouldn't say I'm some dominant alpha male now. Like, no. But I've worked on a lot of my traits and my behaviors and all of these things and how I behave, how I talk, how I communicate with people. But I wouldn't say, you know, I'm some, you know, fresh alpha male or anything like that. But I do get a lot of guys that are typically very beta. And I'm working with quite a few handful of guys in Melbourne and Sydney right now that remind me very similar to who I used to be.
Gotcha.
And they talk with a very high-pitched vocal tone. They go, hey, how's your day going? You know, and it's like upbeat tonality.
Yep.
They don't talk with a downward tonality. And they've been like this for their whole life. And usually that comes from, you know, an upbringing type of connection issue with their parents. And so they've got that. They've got very feminine body language. So if we were to look at their balance of masculine and feminine energy, they've probably got maybe 80 to 90% feminine energy, even though one of my clients is a big gym junkie.
Yeah.
But he's got very strong feminine energy.
I bet he cares about his looks and appearances. He has to do his skincare.
He
cares about how his hair looks every morning. He spends 30 minutes in the bathroom every morning. He has to dress perfect. All shirts properly ironed. You can visualize it, right? You can see it straight away. You don't even need to tell me who he is or what he does or whatever. But I bet that's the situation. You know?
So and a lot of these guys, so I'll go with that example. So he's got a lot of feminine energy. His vocal tonality is very feminine. Like, women will mistaken him for being gay. And I see this as a common thing because that used to happen to me as well. A lot of girls used to think I was gay as well because the way that I would speak was very soft, very gentle, very high-pitched. And so he's trying to compensate to get women by hitting the gym pretty hard. And I see this so much when I go out. Now, how I would work with this guy is, okay, well, he already hits the gym. But I usually suggest for guys like this, hey, take up, say, Toastmasters or improv classes. Because that's going to help you articulate your words properly, work on your tonality, your speech. And even I would suggest doing some video blogs just for personal reasons on their Instagram. And then they can see how they talk and how their facial expressions are. Because this also did help me. So I'm just thinking of things that I did also as my journey began in my mid-20s, and I'm just suggesting these for these guys. So I say, do a lot of these things, and then just slowly over time correct yourself and help yourself be a better communicator. So for him, for this client, it's more vocals and his expressiveness. So that was my suggestion for him. For the client that's very feminine and his body language is very like girly.
Yeah.
And he's not even aware of it. So I'm not going to say, hey, I want you to take up rugby or football, right? That would be not aligned with his core values. But I said to him, hey, I want you to think of what are some social aspects you can apply into your life that you feel you would be passionate about, but can also bring out a bit more dominance and a bit more masculine presence in you, because we all have that in us. And we sat there and we were thinking, okay, you know, you've got like table tennis, badminton, maybe basketball. And he said, yeah, I'd be open to trying those. I said, fantastic, man. Give them a go, see how you feel, because I feel like you need to have that element in your life. And hey, it's going to help you with your social life. But, you know, eventually if you say take up basketball, try and take up a position that puts you in a leadership spot, whether it might be now organizing, say, your monthly get-togethers with your basketball team or something.
Yep.
Do little things that puts you in that position. So he goes, sounds good, okay? And then I said to him, again, try out public speaking or improv class so that you can work on your vocal tonality. So we were practicing this in a session, and it was like, you know, he would generally speak in a very feminine voice of like, hey, Andrew, how's your day going? I was like, okay, we've got to work on that. And I said, can you talk in a down one? He's like, hey, Andrew. And I said, okay, that's a bit too much.
Hey, yo, man.
Yeah. I said, no, it's not about that. Let's just practice. Even talking to me, and it goes, okay. Is this a bit better? I said, that's a bit better.
Yeah.
So just train your brain to talk a bit more like that. Okay. Because when he first this one client did first call me up, I did question, and I did want to ask him, are you into both men and women, or are you into just women? He goes, no, women. I said, okay. But I was like, he does come off with like that type of gay vibe.
Yeah. So your gaydar was like kind of pinging based on just how he was behaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. That's very interesting. I think that's very important as well, right? There's always body language because, you know, in terms of effective communication, it always comes down to body language over verbal anyway, right? It's all going to be how you perform and how you communicate. A lot of it comes down to, you know, body language, your tonality.
Yep.
The words you say are the least important. It's how you deliver it.
Say it.
Yes, correct. It's always going to be how you say it. That's going to be the most important. Now, what about guys that are, for example, out there, guys that we will quote unquote label as losers, right? And I think this is a huge one, and that's where the whole incel topic comes from, because, you know, there's a lot of guys who are societal losers.
Yep.
That's not in a sense of, oh, you're being offensive, you're a fucking loser because I'm being offensive to you, but you're a loser because, you know, you can't do things right, you're always making mistakes, and, you know, you just can't get things right in your life. And in terms of society, it's kind of like viewed as if, well, they're not going anywhere, they're not progressing anywhere. These are the societal losers, right? So have you ever had people like that come on to work with you from a coaching side of things? I think it's actually really good that they even do, if they do, because even if they are per se a loser, they have the awareness to go, I need help. I think that is already the first correct step in the first place anyway. But let's just say you get a quote unquote loser on board. How do you help these guys then become winners, right? Because relationship is incredibly important, but not just that. There's also other things in your life, such as career, confidence, you know, social relationships as well. How do you help these guys? What sort of advice would you give them so that they can potentially transition from being a loser to becoming now a winner, and then, you know, taking control of their own relationships and life?
Yeah. Just want to point out on a thing that you mentioned. Yeah. It is a big first step for these guys to, number one, firstly, take action and reach out.
I agree.
But also to even acknowledge that they need help. Yeah. Now, I want to point out, having coached in this industry officially and unofficially, well, unofficially for about 14 years, and just seeing all these guys out there, meeting so many guys that need this help, I would say a huge % of men actually do need help in this area. Okay, a huge %. Now, having coached in the hundreds now, all across Australia, a huge percent of men need the help. Unfortunately, a significant small percent acknowledge and realize they need the help.
Even out of the clients that come through? Or are you talking about like just in general?
I would say in general.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So obviously the ones that reach out, they acknowledge that they need help.
Yep.
But sadly, out of that percent, let's just, I can't put a percent on it, but let's just say out of 100 guys, 100 need help.
Yep.
Now maybe 80 of them, or maybe let's just say 60
Yep.
would acknowledge that they need help. The rest will say, no, I don't need help. Nah, and they will just dismiss it. Okay. Out of that 60 guys, probably 30 to 25% of that will say, I'm going to take action to getting the help. And the other ones, unfortunately, they were never going to take action anyway. And they just accept that life is like this and they will never even improve. Even if they paid me and, threw a few $1,000s on the table and said, help me, they will never do anything to improve. So that's just sadly their mindset. And it's unfortunate because I've seen this pattern over all these years. But when it comes to say, quote unquote, loser or a guy that really needs help and he's like at the bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
Well, look, with what we do, unfortunately, we don't always take on board every guy that reaches out. There will be a certain level of coachability that I need from a guy that we would take on board. Otherwise, it's just an absolute waste of time for him and for us, because I've taken on board these type of guys that are just at a very low level and they need a lot of help. And as much as I want to help them, a lot of the times, and it's not like we can't help them, but we can just see that they're not willing to do much work.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have to determine that firstly, but trying to think of guys that are in that space, but then we could help them. The first thing we need to really address is basic skills of grooming, hygiene, simple as it is, man. Some of these guys don't even know that they need to brush their teeth at least twice a day or something, or floss.
Yeah.
These guys don't know this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't even know how to look after their own skin. They don't groom. They've got bad, they smell. And so we're like, hey, you need to like use this or use that.
Yeah.
And like, oh, okay. And we're like, okay. So we kind of can see this and we're like an older brother to them. And then we take them through a whole process. We're like, hey, you need to stop dressing this way. We need to improve how you dress. And when we start dressing them a different way, yes, there is that uncomfortable transitional phase of like, oh, I'm not used to wearing this and stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's because.
No more Star Wars shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, none of that stuff. Get that. Yeah, throw that out. Right?
Yeah.
Burn that.
Yeah.
And so when they start dressing differently, we notice straight away they start walking differently. And I take a video of them when we're walking down the shopping mall and said, did you notice you're walking differently? It's like, fuck, I feel good. I said, this is what we want. Okay, so those guys, it's an incredible journey. We see them, go from like a level experience of 0 to an absolute 100, but it does take a bit of time. So we start with like the basic hygiene, grooming tips, fashion styling, and then just your basics of how to even maintain eye contact in a conversation, how to not talk about all this boring platonic stuff because they just, you talk about one little topic of, say, movies, and they'll say, oh, do you watch the new Avengers? And then they'll just, they just go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
And we have to train their brain on what actually works in a conversation that builds interest from a woman in the first place.
Ooh, that's good. Let's dive into that. What actually does? That's a good question because, I think for a lot of people when it comes to conversation making or even trying to build a relationship, trying to make friends, they'll just talk about things that they're interested in, right? It's the classic, oh my God, are you into cars? Are you into movies?
Yeah.
What have you watched?
Yeah.
Where have you traveled to? All that sort of stuff. What's a good sort of structure of conversational points for someone who is going out there trying to improve their sort of dating game?
Yeah, this is a fun one. I love this one because it's where every guy needs to improve on.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how confident they are, they need to all improve on their social game. So I'll probably, where do I even begin? Okay, so the basics of a social conversation, everyone loves talking about themselves. So that would be something that we teach them. Hey, women love talking about themselves, but then they will be more invested in a guy that kind of shows interest in them, obviously. So don't make it about you for starters.
Yeah.
Like, don't be like, oh, so, you know, I do this for a living, I do that. A platonic conversation that starts and ends in a way of just talking about your life and where have you traveled and all of that, it doesn't work. So guys usually think, oh, I'm a good conversationalist. But women just don't like me. No, it's because the conversations are being boring. So boring conversation simply looks like this. You know, you might start off by asking a lot of questions. So it's like an interview. It's like questions, answers. And yes, most guys do that. Oh, hey, how's your day going so far? So this is what a typical conversation would look like. And we put them in an environment where they can meet a girl and they're like, oh, hey, how's your night going so far? Oh, yeah, good. Cool. Yeah. You been coming here much often, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, not really. Yeah. Been here a few times. Cool. So like, yeah, what do you do for fun? What do you do? What do you like doing? It's like, yeah, I like doing this. And oh, you like doing that? Cool. I like doing that as well. Okay. And that's what a conversation looks like. Yeah. If you want to make a friend or get friend zoned. Okay. If you want to make friends, that's great. But to attract a woman, you need to stimulate emotion. So it's no longer about getting to know her and her getting to know you. You need to dig on an emotional level. So I've realized, you know, in the past few years when I was dating some girls, maybe we went on 3 dates, 4 dates, we were already sleeping together. A lot of them had no idea what I even did. And that kind of gave me that realization like, crap, it's just how I made them feel. Had nothing to do with me telling them that I'm, you know, doing this coaching and I've got this in my life, I do dancing. No, it's just how I made them feel. So we give them a very, very simple structure that they need to create these emotional spikes in the conversations. So emotional spikes usually come from something like banter or creating humor, okay? And how they can do that is through this thing that I call an assumptive playful statement.
Okay.
So let's just say we've got a client on a speed dating scenario. As an example, and a guy sits down with a girl, he's got 5 minutes. Rather than sitting down and saying, oh, hey, you look really nice tonight. What do you do for yourself? Oh, yeah, you know, I'm a lawyer, this, that. It's like, okay, she's done that for 15 other guys the whole night. It's boring. No stimulation whatsoever. So instead, sit down and be like, hey, you have a really nice dress sense. I'm guessing you're a school teacher. Right? Why does he guess that she's a school teacher? Well, based that she's, you know, wearing nice glasses, she's well dressed, and she's got like a nice, it's less corporate-y, but it's more casual. So he wants to then build an assumptive statement based around what he saw. Okay, so this is something that I teach my guys. But then how do we make it a bit more playful? Okay, then we want to take it to a bit more of an extreme level without being, number one, condescending or rude or anything, because sometimes they can make that mistake and be a bit too far-fetched.
Yep.
Okay. So if we were to accelerate that a bit, then we could go, wow, I really love your dress sense. I'm guessing your day-to-day job is either a school teacher or maybe a lawyer because you've got a few reds and blacks in your color, right? I'm guessing actually, yeah, you're a lawyer or something like that. Or no, I'm trying to give you another example. I don't know if that's the best example. Gone mind blank for a second. I'll share with you one example that I did once. So on a speed dating event that I went to, and I was giving an example to a client, I sat down with her. Now I went to the toilet during the break, and then I came back down, and the speed date had already happened. So I was about a minute late into the speed date. And then I sat down and I looked at her and I'm like, oh, sorry I'm late. I had to try and find a babysitter for our kids. And she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I said, what, did you forget about our kids already? Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah.
You're a bad mum, right? But obviously I've done it with the right sense of humor, the right tonality.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit of an extreme example, but I wanted to demonstrate to the client what is possible. And then she kind of fell into my framework. So it's about frame control. So I was giving her the direction of hey, we've actually got kids together, and I was trying to find a babysitter for our kids, so that's why I'm late. And she goes, oh, yeah, I did forget about our kids. I said, well, now that we've got that out of the way, let's finally plan our honeymoon. And so she fell into my framework, and she's like, oh, okay, honeymoon, hey, all right. Well, I'm thinking of maybe, Maldives or something. I said, Maldives? Come on, man. I was thinking more Machu Picchu. So, we're kind of having now like a bit of a playful narrative. So that's usually where you want to get the conversations. Creating these emotional spikes and creating these we narratives that makes it more fun and playful. But it takes a bit of skill to get to that. So a lot of these guys don't know how to be sarcastic or use humor or even use that sarcastic tonality. So we got to get that out of them, because that is what I find stimulates emotional attraction in a woman, because she wants a guy that makes her feel good and she feels relaxed. She feels safe around him. Not about all this, oh yeah, so I've been working this career as like a lawyer for 5 years and I've been doing this. That builds no sexual desire at all. Right? So just to give you a bit of a glimpse, that's usually where we start off. The guy needs to know, how do you break that conversation and create these emotional spikes so the conversation's not flat? Because if you think about it like this, a heart rate monitor, if it's plugged into a guy and it's flat, what does that mean?
Go on, bro.
He's dead.
Done.
Right? Your conversation's dead as well. But essentially, if your conversation's like, doo-doot, doo-doot, right? You're alive. So you want to create those emotional spikes in the conversations.
Gotcha. Would you recommend differently if a guy was trying to date, not to pick up, but he's trying to date to marry? Now that's another big one as well, which is like, some people go out there, they want to date to marry. Some people, or they always say they want to date to marry. But I also feel like a lot of guys who say, yeah, I'm just dating to marry, are also guys who don't have as much game to pick up. So it's a bit of an excuse to cover their asses. But also, like, the guys who are dating out there to be serious, and then there are guys that are dating out there for fun. Would there be differences in recommendation for you? Would you say, like, when you come down to the conversation zone, would you go more down the friend zone questioning? Would you stick more so to excitement and trying to build that sexual desire? What would you say? Is there a difference in those two, in your opinion?
With what I teach, no. So whether the guy comes to me and he says, hey, I haven't had any experience, so I just want to explore for the next 5 years. Or he comes to me and he says, hey, I actually want to get into a relationship. So if they reach out, it's either for one of the other, right? Number one, I want to get into a relationship, or number two, I just want to explore. If he says, hey, I just want to be a fuckboy and I just want to sleep with 500 women, we actually won't take on board that guy.
Yeah.
We've actually never really attracted that type of people anyway.
Which is good.
And I think that came down to our branding. I think that was very important, because we didn't want to brand ourselves as this pickup artist company.
Yeah.
Because I've seen
I've seen a couple of those, I think, in Sydney. There's a couple of guys that do that.
A few,
yeah. They teach guys how to just pick up and get laid.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty lame, personally saying. But I think there's, it's quite interesting. And that's why, obviously I wanted to bring you onto the show, because I feel like what you're doing is slightly different to that. Although you're teaching dating, you're teaching game.
Yep.
But it's different to what I see from a lot of these pickup guys. Like, their whole agenda is to teach guys on how to pick up girls and fuck as many girls as possible.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, interesting. To me, it's kind of like lame. But for you, it's very different.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, man. So, I can define actually the difference of pickup and what we teach.
Yeah.
So, and then I'll get back to the question of, does it differ?
Yeah.
These guys that teach pickup, they're just touching on the surface stuff, right? So they could get a socially awkward guy that has zero social skills, zero foundations in his life. He might have a high-paid job or a good job, but he's got no substance.
Yeah.
So yes, he will be able to teach the guy how to get women, but they will not stay around. So I've already experienced that in my 20s, and I understood that because I had nothing going on in my life. So these guys will end up being an empty shell at the end of the day. They will not feel fulfilled. They will have no long-term connections with women, and they will never attract women. They will know how to pick them up, get them short-term results, but never long-term results. That's a big difference.
Very interesting.
We focus on all the foundations. So that's why we work on their life skills, their social skills outside of like dating. So they get a lot more than they bargain for when they come to us. Now, when they come to us and they say whether I want a girlfriend or a relationship or whether I just want to explore, we teach them all the same processes, because the point that we get them to is in that position of abundance, okay? That position of abundance, meaning that they've got options. They've got options of at least dating 3 to 4 different women at a time. They don't need to be sexually involved with them. So some guys do come to us and say, hey, you know, I'm a full solid Christian. I don't want to have sex, but can you help me get to that level of getting a relationship? Yeah, I would get them through to the same process. Respectfully, I'll say, yeah, you know, we're not here to push you to sleep with them. We're here to get you out on these dates so that you can get into this abundance mindset. You're always in a better position of getting into a relationship when you're in an abundance versus scarcity. Absolutely never consider a relationship if you're in scarcity. This happens all the time. I see so many guys do this. They get in the wrong relationships because they take whatever they can get. That is the wrong.
I think it flips around on the other side too. I see a lot of girls when they reach a certain age, they also take what they can get too, and then they end up in horrible marriages and bad divorces and kids with massive trauma. So
absolutely
happens all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah, and that's actually good that you say that, and it's good that you point out the difference. I think a lot of people might throw you in the same pool as a lot of guys out there, or Andrew's just teaching guys how to, you know, get a root.
Yeah.
But there is a very distinct difference in what you're teaching, and that's why you know, with the whole brand name that you have, Core Confidence Coaching, right? It's like it's literally you're teaching them confidence to their core,
absolutely.
right? And it applies to every aspect, not just with girls, which I think is really good. Are there any guys out there that you think should not be dating? Like, you know, they're maybe, I don't know, they're not in the right space in their career, not in the right headspace. It's not a confidence thing anymore. Is there a certain category of guy where you think, hey, you should probably look in the mirror a little bit more and stop thinking about girls? Like and they would obviously come to you, hey, can you teach us how to pick up girls?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? What do you see, like, are the types of guys and their sort of traits and characteristics that you go, hey, maybe stop thinking about girls. Maybe start thinking about yourself for a second. Have you met those?
Oh yeah. So we have a few at the moment.
Okay.
And yeah, we get that. I wouldn't say a high % of the time we get these guys, but we do get them rolling in, and that's why our screening process is super important for us.
What do they look like to you? What do they look like based on all the thousands of guys that you've spoken to? What do these types of guys look like, and what do you recommend to them to get maybe onto the baseline?
The way that they talk to me over the screening call, I can pick this out straight away.
Gotcha.
It's usually their mannerisms. So either number one, their mental health is not in the right place. And they're just so scattered and they just have no direction in life. And I ask them a simple question and they can't even answer it. They go off on a tangent. I said, all right, look, we're not going to focus on dating. As much as I would love to take you on board as a client, I could, but it would be unethical of me and it wouldn't be the right thing. If I were to take you on as a client, we would focus more on the foundations, okay? So not dating, okay? And I just want to be very upfront with you. And I say that to them. And if they take it and they're like, yep, cool, fantastic, I'm willing to be open to that, I'm like, cool. Then we can potentially work with them long-term after, but they need to put in the work. Now, what they usually look like is they've gone through a lot of heavy trauma or they've got some issues that they haven't resolved. And usually this comes up in that screening call. They will consistently bring up one negative situation and one negative, and they're like fixated on that. So that's something that we really dive into, and we say, hey, you've got to do some inner work before we can even look at the dating. And that's why we brought on board a psychologist onto our team. Wow. So in the past couple of years, we were referring them to psychologists, and we would actually do the research ourselves to find a suitable psychologist. But then we found these guys didn't actually appreciate that effort that we did for them. So instead, we sourced out a really good psychologist that has a background in working with couple counseling. And then she's worked with our clients over the last 3 years in dating. So she understands that whole realm. Wow. So then we just kind of get her onto the calls first before they do the work with us.
Wow.
So yeah. So usually these guys look like they've had a bit of trauma that's unresolved. Look, sometimes we say, hey, we don't think we're the right fit, but maybe reach out once you've done this work. So we have had to do that in the past with some guys. We had one recently who did take on board our feedback. And when I first worked with him, just on the basic social skills, he wanted me to take him out and meet women. I said, we're not ready for that. But I could tell he was emotionally unstable, just the way that he was. And then he was going on to antidepressants and stuff. And I was like, look, that's not my field of expertise. I don't want to recommend anything about that. So I just worked with him on social skills and gave him a few coaching calls and pushed him in the right direction. But he was very jittery. He was very anxious. His emotions were up and down on the calls. But then I said, look, work on yourself for a bit. And if you need help, feel free to reach out down the track. He actually did reach out recently.
Wow.
And man, I can tell you right now, when he spoke to me on the phone and called me up, I was like, dude, is this you? Because you sound so much happier. I can feel that energy over the phone. And he goes, oh, really? I said, man, can I just say firstly, before we look at coaching you, I'm really proud that you've put in the work. I can sense that you're a different person just by the energy that I feel over the phone with you. So this was like day and night almost. And I was like, dude, whatever you want to do, I'm more than happy to take you on board as a client.
That's so cool.
So that was nice.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
I think it's very hard. I think when we talk about dating, it's actually a lot of it comes down more to psychology than the actual practice of dating. A lot of it comes down to your confidence. A lot of it comes down to your communication. Charisma doesn't even apply into it as much as people think when you don't even have the communication and confidence down pat.
Absolutely.
So that's really interesting stuff. Now, what's the sort of like pitfalls that you kind of see then? You know, for guys that are out there trying to go on dates and trying to date, what are the big red flags? Because you would have gone through it yourself, right? You know, you're turning 40 now, so you've been in the game like 15 years. What are the sort of pitfalls that you see with guys now that you've had that 15 years of dating experience and coaching experience that potentially lead them to losing out on great opportunities, losing out on great women, potentially, you know, being extremely undesirable, or just being repulsive. And in this generation, they call it icking out, right? They get icked out. So what are the sort of red flags that you kind of see when, you know, guys go out there to try to date or pick up girls?
What are these red flags? Like, when they first come to me, or
when they first come to you, or like the big mistakes that they make when they're going out there trying to you know go date, right? And we discussed some just then, which is like their mental state and you know, their confidence could be one of them, their trauma could be one.
Yeah.
But what are some sort of behaviors that you see that guys, if you saw it in a club, for example, you'd just be like, bro, you gotta fucking stop doing that, man.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I see a lot.
You go, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, what are those? Like, give us 5 solid ones, because then someone's gonna be sitting there listening to this and go,
Oh my gosh.
oh
Okay.
fuck, that's me. So we got to get rid of those.
Yeah, look, some guys, oh man, it can be a dog eat dog world in a bar or club environment.
Yep.
And typically what I do see is these guys, they dress really well and then they think, oh, it's all about my money and status. So they go up to women and they just offer to buy drinks. Hey ladies, what are you drinking tonight? How about I buy you all drinks? And he thinks that I can just use my money to basically cut through and compensate for my lack of skills.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know. He doesn't know better. And I see this so often, and women will be like, yeah, sure, like free drinks.
Free drinks. Yeah, why not?
And then they're the same guys that are like, cool, let me take you to the finest restaurant for the first date. And the woman hasn't even done anything to earn like a $500 dinner or more.
Agreed.
So that is a typical bad mindset to have. And you either go about it whether, hey, I thought that's what we do, but can I change this? But then there's another guy that's like, no, this is who I am. And he's a bit arrogant and cocky about it. Okay, so that is a typical level 1 mistake I see guys making. I'll tell you this funny story. I had this one client that from Australia reached out to me, and he didn't know what he was doing wrong, and I felt really sad for him. We worked on this. But this is the typical mindset guys have. And I said, what do you think you're doing wrong? And he goes, I don't know. I said, all right, well, what's the furthest you've gotten out on a date? And he goes, I can get the first dates, but they don't go past that. And he's never had a relationship before. And I said, okay. So I wanted to dig deeper. Give me some first date things that you've done with girls in the recent 12 months. And this is no joke what he said. Okay, he goes, oh, I've got my pilot license. So there's this really hot girl that I saw at work. And so what I ended up doing is I invited her out on a date and I took her in a helicopter ride and I drove the helicopter and took her to Hunter Valley. And we had a nice lunch together in the sunset and stuff. And then I flew her back. And yeah, it was like the best date ever. I said, okay, how much did you spend on the date? And he spent a lot to even just rent that helicopter out. And I was like, ooh, okay.
It's like full simp mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then and he goes, yeah, and I think it went well because she asked for a second date, but she asked if she could bring a friend, and he said yes.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's painful, man.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but
I know.
fuck, that's...
But this is typical, dude.
Bro, that's bad.
This is typical. And
I
said, wow, yeah, he got dug hard. But that's the sad reality because women they're not out there to purposely take advantage of that.
Of course not.
But they're just like, well, hang on.
But some girls know the game too.
Yeah,
some girls know the game.
And I was like, have you guys even held hand or kissed? And he goes, no. I said, well, what happened after that? And he goes, yeah, she just acts like we're workmates now. And he goes, now it's awkward. I said, yeah, so we need to work on some things.
Yeah.
Okay, so this I can stress, this happens day to day. Now, I was like that. I was exactly like this guy.
Simp daddy, bro.
Yep. Now, where did we get this mindset from? It comes from fucking society, comes from movies, comes from these cartoons, comes from especially, the movie Hitch. Like people say, oh yeah, you're like the modern day Hitch. Well, funny enough, when you watch that movie, it portrays Will Smith as this simp kind of guy. When you look at it, it looks great in the movies, but he actually is a bit of a stalker.
Yeah.
Right? Because he sees this hot girl, Eva Mendes, and she's gorgeous. And then he finds out where she works, and then he sends her this gift, and there's a walkie-talkie and a fucking swimming suit in there. And he's like, it makes it look nice in the movies. And then when he's like desperately wanting her back, he runs after her in the car and he chases after her and jumps on the car, right? And this is what is playing on in guys' heads and conditions them to think that that's how you get women. And it sounds funny, but dude, literally that's how I learned.
Yeah.
And so I behaved exactly like that.
Now imagine, I would love to know if the girls out there are watching this episode, leave it in the comments. Do you think that's attractive to you? Some random dude that you've just met finds out where you live, sends you flowers with a walkie-talkie, starts talking to you through the walkie-talkie, sees you going down the road, jumps on the car to go, hey, I like you. Come back.
Yeah, come back and shit.
Is that creepy or is that normal?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I know. So in the real world, if you did that, it's fucking creepy.
There's a police.
Yeah.
There's a policeman waiting outside right now for an AVO.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, Jesus.
But in the movies, it looks like romantic.
Yeah. It's romance. Cinema
Yeah,
romance, right? Cinema romance, yeah.
So, yeah, nowadays we lack good male masculine role models. We do. And in the movies, unfortunately, we don't have good movies that demonstrates this. Like maybe James Bond, I think that's the closest, but in a real world scenario, there's not much.
Not
it
much
just
James
this
Bond.
fantasy
I
thing that
agree.
women love, but then in real world, it's like you're a creep.
Well, I think that's why right now, like the whole thing, like last 2 years with Andrew Tate, right? And then that swings to the other side, which is like the toxic masculinity. Women ain't shit.
Yeah.
You got to treat them like shit. You got to do this. You got to have many women. You got to be the alpha male with like 50 women on your roster.
Yeah.
That kind of like messaging has started to kind of become a little bit more prominent now. And all the younger generation are starting to see that. It's like, oh, it's okay if I treat women like shit. It's okay if they're just like whatever. I think there has to be a good balance. The old school gentleman type guy looks after you, is a provider, is a masculine man, capable with their hands, capable with their wallet.
Yep.
And then, nowadays you've got the new age type of man, which is like, oh, I'm the king of the house. Like, it gets very polarizing now at that stage as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think off the back of that as well, obviously those are really, intense red flags. There's a big discussion nowadays with like, oh, guys should be providers. They should have a lot of money. And, girls nowadays, they chase guys with money. I think that's been an age-old thing, to be honest. It's not really just a modern thing. But what's your take on that? Like, do you think it's easier for guys that have money to then go on to then date properly? Or do you think that guys who don't have money, can also date successfully as well?
Yeah. You don't need money. It's not. So I remember I read this in a relationship book and it outlined this really carefully. And I was like, fuck, this actually makes sense. So this was one of my light bulb moments. It said, women, you might think, the world might think that women are desired towards the men that have a lot of money and successful. Yes. Okay. That is true. And in society and on social media, we see that a lot, but it's not, okay. When we're talking about the average girl out there, she is driven more towards his behaviors and his drive and ambition that got him there, not the money. Okay. So it's actually the behaviors and the journey that he went on to becoming the man that got him there. So yeah, society and social media might look at it as if like, this guy's successful, he's got money, so he gets all the women. Okay. But yeah, you know, you've got to define the certain types of men, because there are men that attract those women because they're after like the luxury lifestyle and all of that. But then they don't even, there's no connection. Yes. But then also for the most part, most guys don't want that type of woman.
The gold digger type, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The sugar baby type.
Exactly. And dude, fucking.
There's a lot of them, especially in Melbourne.
Dude, I will tell you, actually, I want to share that with you, right?
Yeah.
This was really sad. During COVID, so obviously we were in lockdown in Melbourne for a very long time. And so I wanted to explore the world of, you know, sugar daddies, sugar babies, not to become a sugar daddy, but I kept hearing about this. I'm like, as a coach, I need to understand this stuff because I've got people in the community bring this up saying, oh, it's great being a sugar daddy. I'm like, well, let's dive into a little bit of this. So I actually paid for these apps, put myself on there.
Wow.
Just to explore and see what it was like. And I was like, fuck, this is so easy. But obviously it's easier than Tinder and Bumble because the women are expecting something out of it.
Correct. There's an expectation of return. There's a transaction to it.
And it was actually nice to feel wanted. Like women reaching out going, hey, you look nice. And I was like, oh, fuck.
It's the reverse.
Dude,
it's reverse Tinder.
So it almost became, I could have fallen into that trap of actually becoming that. I never once paid $1 to get a girl on a date.
Yeah.
So I actually knew how to develop social skills to get them out and not expecting to become a sugar baby. So I just wanted to learn this stuff. And actually I ended up making a friend or two out of it.
Wow.
But the sad thing is when I flicked through on this app, dude, I saw so many familiar faces and I'm like, wow.
No way. Like dudes? Dudes or girls?
No, girls.
Oh,
Obviously.
wow.
Yeah. And that was really shocking and disappointing because all these girls that I knew on a friend, like, you know, as an acquaintance or you see them at like a business networking event and they say, yeah, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and this and that.
No.
Dude. And I was like, are you fucking serious? And I called them out on this.
Oh, no.
I seriously called them out on this. And obviously they just unfriended me on Instagram.
Of course.
But I was like, hey, you know, I saw you on a fucking sugar babes website.
Yeah.
And I saw their profiles. And it's like, yeah, you know, I expect you to pay for my bills and all this stuff. And I was like, damn. Like, and it was very disappointing. But like, that's the reality we live in, unfortunately.
It is.
So it's like a hidden society, man. And like, you go out in a bar and like probably 80% of them are unfortunately sugar babies or some.
Of course.
You will never know.
Of course.
You will never know.
Don't trust your Instagram entrepreneurs.
Dude, it's fucked. It was a shock. It was a shock to the system, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And did they ever, like whenever you see these guys or you see these girls on those websites, did any of them ever reach out to you and be like, oh, I saw you there? Like, you know, did they ever try to rekindle anything? Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. That would have been very, very interesting if that happened.
Yeah.
As well.
I think I called my name Big Asian Boss or something. Big Asian Boss 69. Yeah. I was like, Big Asian Boss 69.
Of course you did, Big Asian Boss
I
69.
put a photo of myself in a suit and stuff.
Oh, no
yeah,
way.
I got messages for days, man.
Really?
And it could have become an addiction, but
Of course.
Man, it's like an easy exit strategy for a guy that just can't get success. So
Yeah.
it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
But I'm like, don't go down that road.
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at an internet cafe once. There's like an internet cafe down the road that has like an actual cafe and also has the computers, and everyone's like playing League of Legends. And there's this one dude in the corner.
no.
He's just on Ashley Madison, and I was like, that is hilarious. He's either scamming people or is he cheating on his wife. So yeah, it is such an interesting interesting world out there.
Yeah.
How has this whole dating game affected kind of your relationships in your life? Like, what's the psychology behind it? You've slept with a lot of girls, you picked up a lot of girls, you've dated a lot of girls.
Yep.
And I don't know how it's been like for you. Have you had a lot of serious relationships come out of the last couple of years, or what's it been like?
Yeah, look, it can be a double-edged sword, right? Now, I obviously have gone to the extreme, and I wouldn't say a lot of guys would be in the position that I am. So I make sure, my clients don't get to the depth that I've gone to. I just help them. Look, majority of them anyway, they do want a lifelong partner. Some do want, to experience polyamorous and open relationships. So at least I've had that experience and I can help them,
Have you had
achieve that.
polyamorous relationships?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, what has it kind of given me in terms of experience wise and recent relationships? I would say it's definitely given me a lot of growth as a person.
Okay.
So I've dated some women that I probably would never even had the courage to go up to and approach or even say hi to. Some, even some tall blonde girls that I got anxiety or like, oh my gosh, no, I can't talk to that.
Tall, white, blonde girls, right?
And I've met some really incredible ones that literally changed my life, man.
Wow.
Like genuine ones that most guys would never have the balls to go up to. And yeah, you went for, like these are girls you would never find in the club, by the way.
Yeah.
And I've gone up to them.
Where'd you meet them?
Out and about. So one I met at, she was sitting by the riverbank in Melbourne outside of a noodle night market.
Okay.
She was slightly taller than me, and she had a very intimidating, hot, typical Aussie blonde look.
Blonde bombshell type of
I
energy,
was
right?
like, oh my gosh. I literally was like, fuck, this is like the thing that I get anxiety about. So I was like, all right, grow some fucking balls, Andrew. I went in, talked to her, and yeah, we had, it wasn't a serious relationship, like in terms of a normal standard one. It was more of this is why I learned this stuff. It was a sub-dom relationship.
Oh.
And I was like, shit, wait, is this that 50 Shades of Grey stuff? I was like, it is. And I had no idea that that's what I was entering
And
into.
that's what happened just randomly
Yeah,
on,
just
on the
happened
riverbank in Melbourne,
Yeah.
guys. That's where you find your subdoms.
Dude, I was just, she was just normal looking,
Yeah.
like not in like fishnet stockings. Or
Yeah,
anything.
of course, of
She was
course.
just watching some reels on her phone.
Yeah.
And then I just made an observational kind of
Yeah.
comment, and then I showed my intent. I said, "Hey, you look really fucking attractive. Like, I'm curious, what's your background?" And she said, "Oh, just typical Aussie." I said, "No, like, what's your actual ethnicity?" And we got into that. Then we sat down, we started chatting, and then she asked me about what I do, and then she's like, "Oh, fuck, that's really interesting." And then we're diving into the topic of sex, and then she's like, "Oh, so what are we're talking about sex? What's good sexual this that positions? What's your experience been like?" And then, we just started making out in about like 30 minutes of a conversation.
No way.
Then we ended up seeing each other. And this is where things started to turn for me, because she goes, "Hey, we should go to sex parties together." And that, when she said that, that gave me a fucking anxious feeling. I was like, oh my gosh. Going from like shy Asian Andrew who couldn't even talk
How
about
long
sex.
ago was this? How long ago?
This was back in 2019.
Okay, so
Pre-COVID.
okay, pre-COVID, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh my gosh, that thought of just even going to something like that gave me like jitters.
Yeah.
But then from there on, like I learned so much about myself. I learned a lot about just how to push through boundaries.
Yeah.
And I became very comfortable in my own skin to own who I am. And so I went from very shy Andrew dating coach to very, hey, who gives a fuck? Just do whatever you want in life that makes you happy, makes you feel fulfilled. And also with her, she was bi-curious. And so from there on, I started attracting a lot of bi-curious, bisexual women. And I found that worked really well for me.
It's a lot of threesomes, orgies for you.
I wouldn't say that, but there was the really cool thing was that there was no judgment from their end.
Yeah, right.
And they would allow me to do whatever I wanted, and they really encouraged me. Like I had some really good relationships where
Were they mostly Aussie girls or like were they like Asians?
so there were a mixture of One was obviously the one was Aussie.
Yeah.
One was from the UK.
Gotcha.
One was Asian. Yeah. So actually, a few of them were Asian.
Really? Because Asians,
Yeah.
I feel like are a bit more conservative, right?
You'd think that, and yes, that would be true.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I guess, they will never tell you things unless you bring up this topic, and then
Gotcha.
then they'll feel like, oh, now I feel like I can finally tell this to someone.
Mm.
So if I guess because I was so open, they felt like they could be open with me, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
judge them.
Yeah.
So I attracted a lot of this energy from like 2019 up until recent, just attracting like a lot of open bisexual girls.
Yeah.
And they would be like, oh, dating coach, this is really cool. And, this and that. And they wanted to kind of, be like, hey, can I give some advice to your clients, stuff like this. And they would also encourage me like to sleep with other women and go to sex parties as well. They go, oh, tell me how it was, or how was your date? And that was really interesting to experience that.
That is very interesting. So
Dude.
someone like me who's like a monogamy
Yeah.
only, like kind of, serious relationships. That's kind of my
Totally.
my flavor, right? So I'm more like monogamy, serious relationships. So it's really interesting to hear about this. So I'd actually like to dive more into it. But what was it like then, going through that? Because obviously having a partner, you've been in polygamous relationships.
Yep.
What's that actually like? Because there's always a big debate between monogamous and polygamous. To each their own.
Yep.
I feel like I have
Yep.
no judgment to all
Yep.
of that. I know some people judge and this and that, but fuck that.
Yep.
I'm more like, it's very interesting. The human experience is so wide. The breadth of the human experience is so
Yep.
wide. So what was it like for you then going through that? And I mean, you lucked out on this one. It was just a very random one, and then that opened your world up to like sex
Yeah.
parties and
Yeah.
bi relationships and polyamorous relationships.
Yep.
What is that actually like, having multiple girlfriends per se, and they all know of each other, or they know that you're in relationships with each other?
They don't know of each other, but
Okay.
they
They know that there's
I
another
didn't get to that
girlfriend or
level.
whatever.
I didn't get to that level.
Okay.
But they knew of others.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they knew of others, but they didn't like
Yeah.
all meet and.
Oh yeah,
let's have
It's
a-
like girlfriend 1, 2, 3.
That'd be a bit extreme.
Yeah.
But I will say this though, it has, as I said at the beginning, it's a double-edged sword because it has put me in that position where I used to be a very monogamous person.
Yeah.
And that's where I came from. And do I see myself doing that in the long term? I would say yes, it would be nice to.
Yeah.
But it's like you've gotten kind of a taste of this world, and I'll tell you right now, it's very hard to kind of go back to the simpler life.
I guess that's kind of like the high society stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the whole like, they go to all these extravagant parties, massive swinger parties, big orgies, like
Yeah.
big sex parties.
Yeah.
What is that experience like? Like, what is an actual sex party? Because I don't think a large bulk of society would obviously experience one, let alone know that
Yeah.
it exists.
Yeah.
What is a sex party like? Is it like literally people go to a house, things happen?
Yeah.
What's
Oh
it
my
like?
fucking gosh, dude.
Oh, you got stories, I can tell.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, I do have some funny stories.
All right, guys, we're entering the explicit scene, yeah? So if you got kids watching, turn it off now.
Yeah, holy shit. No, so I wanted to get my feet wet just a little bit because I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Were you
Like,
nervous the first time?
Oh
you
yeah,
went?
fuck.
Like
And
you're
I'd
going to be
still
you stripped naked.
I'd still be nervous till
Yeah,
today, right?
Yeah.
Like it's even hard for a guy to fucking, flop his dick out and piss in a
Yeah,
urinal
yeah.
next to another guy.
Bro,
Like, I know that's an issue with a lot of guys.
I know. Like the first time I went to a spa in China, and it's either
dude,
like
I
an
know.
all guy or all girl
Oh
spa,
my
right?
God.
And the first time you walk out and everyone's just fucking butt ass naked,
Yeah.
and you got to strip naked. You flop your dick out and you just walk around like naked with like 500 other
Yeah.
guys, and then you're jumping into spas, and
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
this is very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But I think you have to really get in touch with yourself to kind of like build up that mental resilience to do that. So for you to go to a sex party
yeah.
is pretty intense. Yeah. What's that experience like?
Ah, man. So I started off with like these kink parties.
Okay.
That was like
This was the Aussie girl that brought you there?
no. So at that point, so COVID kind of screwed up our relationship.
Of course.
But she planted that seed, and we had a bit of experiences, and that kind of led me into this direction. So I had this curiosity that I needed to scratch, and so I wanted to see what this world is like.
Yep.
So I went onto these websites that showed where these parties are.
So there's actually websites for
Yeah,
this
there's
stuff.
this part.
Okay.
Yeah, website that shows everything. And so, yeah, you've got like swingers and stuff. And I always thought to myself, fuck, like, could I ever see myself like that? Like I'm emotionally involved and sexually involved with my partner and then seeing her, get banged by
railed
other
by
guys.
another.
I don't know if I could see that or experience that.
That's a very tough image.
And so till today, I don't know if I could have that happen or want that happen. Yes, there are relationships where it's open one-sided.
Yep.
I feel like
I mean, like
could,
there's cucks, right?
Yeah.
They like watching the girl get banged.
I wouldn't be
I
able
could
to,
never stomach that.
I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't
Yeah,
feel.
I don't. I could never stomach that.
Yeah. No, it's just, that
fucked
image
up.
would just fuck me up.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that would destroy the relationship.
Yeah.
But I think it's different from a woman and seeing a guy, like, because I've had that happen. Okay? I've
Interesting.
had that happen.
Yeah.
And they've been totally fine with it.
Interesting.
And I really loved that because they're like, oh, that's really cool, and they encouraged it. But anyway, I started off going to these fetish parties, these kink parties, and man, everyone's in like fucking bondage outfits. And I'm like, that's not me. But I just wore like all black and it said you can just rock up in like all black. So that's fine. I rocked up in all black. I went by myself.
Yeah.
At
Wow, you
first.
went by yourself.
Yeah, I went by myself.
Wow, okay.
And I was like, all right, let's have the confidence to do this on your own. Just see what it's all like.
Core confidence.
Yeah, call confidence, man. And then an arm tapped me from behind and says, hey, Andrew. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I was like, oh, shit.
Oh, Johnny, how's it going?
Yeah, I was like, oh, dude, what are you doing here? I was like, fuck. So I was like in my comfort zone with this guy and I was like, hey, dude, is this your first time? He goes, nah, I've been a few times. Like, fuck, all right. Well, at least it's good to know.
You have a friend.
Yeah, I've got a friend. So anyway, you just see all this wacky, crazy shit like exhibitionists, like
Wow.
guys tying up their girlfriends on a crucifix and they're slapping them. And then, they've got like whips and they're bleeding and stuff. So it's pretty extreme. So certain people like that. Certain people can't stomach that. So you've got different things going on. Then you can kind of meet people.
Is this in a house or like a
It
warehouse?
was in a club. It was in a famous club in Melbourne.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that club is like purely for that now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they've got like the right furniture for it, like plastic on their furniture and stuff. So anyway, they've got like poles and stuff like that, and it's like 3 levels.
Are there a lot of people in there when you go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it kind of looks like the national. Think of it like a museum, and people walking around with a wine, but instead of looking at art pieces, you're looking
just
at
titties and
people are fucking and-
penises.
yeah. people are doing threesomes and guys are getting blown out and stuff, and obviously it's consensual, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
consensual.
of course.
There's very strict rules on that, and you're just like having a sip of wine, chatting to people, and just looking at what's going on. So it's a little bit like, just dabbling your feet into this.
And is everyone naked or everyone's
No,
in
no.
costumes?
Everyone's got clothes on and
okay.
stuff, and some people, there's a few people that are fully naked and stuff, but it's to each their own. But it's just like a club, and you just like this.
Interesting.
So it was like, okay, cool. And then the next time around, I brought a friend along because I told my girlfriends about this, and they're like, "Oh, this sounds cool. Can I come along?" So I brought some girlfriends along, and they're like, "Fuck, this is like really
Intense.
weird." Like people who have these weird,
Yeah.
what do you call it? Kinks.
Yeah.
They just have these weird things going on, like guys wanting to be submissive. And I saw this. This was a bit challenging to watch, but there was a guy, he had a gag in his mouth, and he was like acting like a dog barking, and the girl was in this dom outfit, and she was like
Smacking him, stepping on
him, and just stuff like that. But it's like people have these fantasies, so this is where they live this out.
Yeah. I've actually seen something similar. Not as extreme, but when I was at the Easter show last year, Easter show out of all places, I saw a couple, and there was a girl who had her boyfriend on a leash, like fucking pulling him around everywhere. And I was like,
At an Easter show.
at the Easter show.
Yeah,
I
he
was
must
like,
have done something bad.
yeah, I know. It's been a naughty boy.
You bad
that's
boy.
crazy.
I'll take you out and
Yeah, that was
shame you.
crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, so I was like,
these
that's so
things,
interesting.
They,
Yeah.
they do live in relationships, right?
Yeah, of course.
And it's like, well, how do you keep a relationship interesting? Sometimes you need to mix it up a little bit like that. Okay, so that was the kink level. And then I was like, I've done a few of those. I think I'm ready for the next step. Now, I didn't want to bring a girl that I was seeing because I thought it would really mess me up.
Yeah.
So I just went with a friend
Yep.
that was smoking hot, and she was into this stuff. Now, purely friends. We've never had any sexual kind of things go on or happen. But she was into this, and I was like, let's go as, pretending to be a couple and go to these sex parties.
Yeah.
And we went there, and it was all just, couples and stuff. And you start off, having a bit to eat in this person's house. It is a house. It's
a proper house now.
A person hosts the parties. And so it's like an invite only type of thing.
Gotcha.
And so you're meeting other couples, and then it's kind of like
Is this defined as a swingers party? Is that what it is?
yeah. This one was a swingers party,
Yeah.
sex swingers party. So you go in as a couple, or you bring a friend, and then you kind of see the vibe with other couples and stuff like that. And you start off, fully clothed, and then as you kind of build up the chemistry, you can say, "Hey, you guys want to go downstairs and have fun?" Yeah. So there's obviously consent around it and everything, and it's very challenging as a guy when you're walking around naked and you get told no, no, thank you.
Oh.
Dude, it's very like demoralizing. I can tell you that right now.
Really? Wow.
It's hard enough.
Why? Did they go, oh, your dick's not big enough?
No,
or-
they wouldn't say that. But like, it's hard enough just to like getting rejection in that
Yeah, of
environment.
course, of course.
You feel shit.
Because you're vulnerable, bro.
Yeah.
You're naked.
Yeah,
you're like
you're fucking
literally naked.
You're fucking naked. But dude, I can tell you right now, it feels like walking onto a war scene on like the beach, and
Right.
it's like a war scene, like the Omaha beach. Or
Yeah,
World
everyone's
War
like
II.
looking at you, like
just
eyes
fucking
are sniping you.
Things are blowing up everywhere.
Yeah.
You just hear cheeks clapping like left, right, and center, and
Yeah.
people just doing this and just like, oh, like, but like on an intense level. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, just try and block this out.
Yeah.
Look, I wanted to come to this out of curiosity,
Yeah.
and I'm like anxious
Yeah.
and nervous. And yeah, just you see everything going on and stuff. And I was like, fuck, look, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, my friend's already off,
She's already gone.
She's already off.
Yeah, she's like,
I
oh,
was
this
like, fuck.
walk in the park.
Yeah, I was like, man, it's so easy for girls, but for
course.
guys, it's fucking hard. And so anyway, yeah, it was challenging. I only went a few times,
Yeah.
but it was challenging because it can mentally screw with you if you just
Right.
if you're not ready for it. So it's not as easy as you might think it is, but I think for some guys, they just go in and they're fine with it. But yeah, it's there's a lot of mental blockages there.
That's pretty intense stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So how does that play now? Like, let's just say when you want to get into your next serious relationship, potentially the person you want to marry, settle down with. How does all of this then accumulate in your psyche for what you want in a partner?
Look, regardless, I've always been very open.
Yeah.
Or I'm always open from the very beginning. So I want them to know what I'm all about before we get into it.
Yeah.
I think, look, I would expect my future partner to be open-minded to a degree. I don't expect her to be like my previous ones and stuff like that. But I think they'd have to be some form open to the things that I've done, because I'm proud of what I've done. Like I've gone on this journey and I've explored, and I think that they need to also be open and respectful of that. And I'd say most women that I've met over the years have been. So that's why we got along so well. And even most of them till today, even though it didn't work out, we're still in touch. We're still friends. You know what I mean? I think that's a great relationship.
Yep.
So yeah, I've got no issues about all the things that I've done, experienced, and explored, because I think it just, I can kind of go through life saying that, I've looked at everything, I've done everything, I didn't have any regrets. But I think in terms of relationship-wise, I would expect them to be somewhat open about the things that I've done and maybe open to exploring things.
Are you looking at going down the path of like settling down, having kids, doing all of that, or is that not on the cards for you? Not
So-
in the vision.
From day one, I've never really been, or I've never really had the thought process of having kids. I'm open to it, but it's never been a motivating factor. And I can see that certain people are built that way. Like, oh man, I can't wait, to meet the one and get married and have kids and settle down. Like, I've never been like that from day one. I'm like, it's never motivated me. I look at other people's kids. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And yeah, that's
cool,
nice.
whatever.
It's cool. But I don't know. It's never been a motivating factor of me. Again, I'm open to it. Like, if I come across the right one and we're like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to say, no, I don't want kids. It's just not on the cards.
It's not your driving factor.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But getting married, I've always had that motivation to see that as a life goal. But nowadays, during a lot of things that I've kind of explored, experienced, exposed to over, say, the period, say, from 2019 to now, I would say I'm not fussed if I don't get married or not. It's all about having a long-term, strong connection.
Yeah.
Even if we're just monogamous and we don't get married, I'm perfectly fine with that. I see marriage in a different light nowadays, just from how society's swung.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Different tax benefits to that too, guys.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why people get married and don't get married. but
Correct, correct. I agree. Now, I think in terms of like questioning for the relationship side of things, this is probably my last one. Do you think that the one you talked about, you just briefly touched on, the one exists, and what is the one for you?
I don't think there's the one of the one.
Yeah.
I believe that there are multiple the ones out there, and if you want to expand on that, you just got to work on yourself as a certain person. You attract that energy, and you'll be more of a fit for those certain types. But they're out there. There's not the one. That was a poor man's mindset that I had as well. So that wasn't actually a healthy mindset to think like that. So in terms of, what was the question again?
From like, do you believe that the one exists?
Okay.
And how do you define the one?
Yeah, so going on that, I believe they do exist, man. I do. So you got to put yourself out there. You got to proactively put yourself out there and you will essentially attract the right ones. They will fall into your life some way if you're putting yourself out there and working on yourself. So as long as you're putting yourself out there proactively, they will somehow align in your life. I believe that. Okay. And if you miss that opportunity, well, you just need to grow and learn from that so the next right one can come along, or you can reattract that one again. Okay.
Interesting.
So they are out there, man. I do believe. I do definitely believe. I don't believe a man should go through life being single and just having no experiences, because it does become a sad life ultimately.
Have you met a lot of guys that are like very late age or like
Yes.
30s, 40s, 50s,
Yep.
single?
Yep, a lot of them, man.
Really? Like never had a previous relationship?
Never had
all?
had any sexual experiences.
Holy shit.
Yep.
So literally 30,
There's
40,
a lot of
50-year-old
them.
virgins.
Yeah, a lot of them. There's a lot out there, and unfortunately, some of them, because they've been that way for so many years, they kind of just accept that this is how I am. They might inquire about my coaching, but they're stuck.
don't
They're
take
stuck
action.
in their way. Nothing I can do to change that.
Of course, you can't change anyone
Yep.
that doesn't want to be changed. You
Yep.
can't help anyone that doesn't want to be helped.
Yep.
That's the age-old saying, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, for the viewers and listeners out there, because we have both platforms, where do they find you on socials, and how do they follow your journey? What's your ats? What's your tags?
Yeah, so if they can actually find me on Google if they just Google Andrew Gung, or they go to our website, coreconfidence.coach. That's an easy way. I'm quite proactive on Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok is done pretty well, but I'm more
Instagram.
more Instagram.
More on Instagram.
Yeah, Andrew J. Gung.
Okay, amazing, easy. Well, make sure you guys go find him if you want. I think we'll have like a promo code for everyone if they want to do coaching, right? We'll get Andrew to sort that out for you guys. For the listeners on the show, you get an exclusive code. So maybe you can, find your future wife from this episode. Who knows? That'll be fun. One last thing. This is a question that all my guests get is, we've lived our long lives. You've got 41 years of experience in this world, whether it's relationship, psychology, success, and all of the above. If there was one cheat code that you found, right, over those 41 years of experience, and you could go back to your younger self, your 18-year-old Andrew, that could help him double the results you've gotten today in half the time that you've done to achieve it, what would that one cheat code be? Have a think about this one. Choose for relationships, for your business, just for even self-fulfillment. What's the cheat code that you feel like you found?
Yeah. That is, so we are the own directors of our own life, right? We are the director of our own life. Our life is a movie, and it plays out how exactly you want it to play out. And so everyone's got different belief systems and values and whatnot, but this is what's worked really well for me. Just know at the end of the day where where you're going to be, but more importantly, who you're going to become, and just strongly visualize that and know that that's the end goal. That's where you're headed. And everything that's going to happen along that journey has to happen, but you can either get there sooner or get there later, depending on how much work you put in and how much rejection you're willing to go through in the early stages. So it's kind of like failing fast. So if I had the mindset that I did back when I was 18, I would have been like, you know what, let's just experience this journey and go through it as much and as fast as I possibly can and embrace every moment to help build upon my character as that's made me who I am today. So yeah, just know that the end goal at the end of the day can be accomplished, but you've got to go through that journey. It's not an easy road, but you've got to go through it and just know that it can happen. So you just got to strongly visualize it and know that you can get there. So you are the director of your own movie. That would be the biggest one. The biggest one. And look, if I can chuck in another one in there, I know everyone, overuses this phrase of like, you are the average of the 5 closest people. I actually kind of hate hearing that now because I've been drilled into that from multiple seminars over the years. But that's so true. And that actually became a big game changer for me in my life when I actually looked at the people around me and I thought, how are these guys even adding value or contributing value to my life? And I just learned to bite the bullet and distance myself from all of these people and just build genuine long-term connections with just a few good people. And I've lived that life probably for the last couple of years, and my life's been on a significant growth path.
Wow.
Yep.
Powerful. Thank you for that, Andrew. Thanks for sharing. And exciting to hear all your stories. I'm sure we'll get you back for another episode with future insights. And yeah, guys, if you want to go and check out Core Confidence Coaching and, improve your confidence in, I think it's just not so much just relationships, but in everything.
Everything, man.
Being a more confident man, make sure you reach out to Andrew. He'll look after you for sure as a friend of the show. So thank you for joining us for another episode. Let's wrap this. Done. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, my bro. Thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed that episode of Point 01. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along on all our socials at Point 01 Podcast to watch all of the shorts again. We release an episode every single week, and we hope you will join us as we continue to explore the minds of those who make up the 0.01%. Until next time, keep hustling. I'm your host, Alan Fu. I'll see you on the next episode.